Good evening, everyone. It's 7 o'clock. I'll call to order the November 19th, 2024 meeting of the Fort Atkinson City Council. Clerk Everett, would you please call the roll?
Councilman Becca,
Here.
Councilman Jekyll,
Here.
Councilman Johnson,
Here.
Councilman Schultz,
Here.
President Lesko-Hare.
Here. Item 3, public hearings. There are none this evening. Item 4, public comment. The City Council will receive comments from city residents. Comments are generally limited to 3 minutes per individual. Anyone wishing to speak is required to sign up in advance or state the following items for the record when called upon: name, address, subject matter, and contact information. No action will be taken on any public comments unless the item is also elsewhere on the agenda. And note for those following along on the hybrid meeting, if anyone on the Zoom wishes to speak during the public comment period, please raise your virtual hand through Zoom. The chat box is not monitored during the meeting, and those on the call, please remain muted if you're not recognized to speak. We had no individuals sign up in person to address the council. Is there anyone following along on Zoom who wishes to provide public comment? I'll just ask a second time in case anybody's searching for their unmute button. Okay, hearing none. Consent agenda, item 5. The consent agenda outlined below is hereby presented for action by the City Council. Items may be removed from the consent agenda on the request of any one council member. Items not removed may be adopted by one action without debate. Removed items may be taken up either immediately after the consent agenda or placed later on the agenda at the discretion of the council president.
Quick question or note. So I see number item H is for the temporary alcohol beverage license for St. Joseph's Catholic Church for the event Tacos, Tamales, and Trivia. I believe we had some individuals in the audience that were interested in that. But with that, I would move to approve the consent agenda as listed, items 5A through 5H.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion on that?
Sounds like a fun time.
Okay, hearing none, motion is to approve the consent agenda as listed, items 5A through 5H. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Petitions, requests, and communications, item 6A, Public Works and Parks Operations Facility Project Update, Q3. We have Public Works Superintendent Williamson with us.
Okay, now we're ready to go. Good evening. So this is, as the council president stated, this is the third quarter of our construction project. It's not the third quarter of the completed year, but we are going through the the process of building the new facility here. And I just wanted to make the council aware of where we're at in the project. So we'll go through a PowerPoint. It's the similar format to what we had the first two times I presented. So we'll follow that. And if you've got any questions, I certainly will do the best I can to answer them. Where are we at here? There we go. Okay, so the discussion topics tonight will be just three areas, and I'll keep them as brief as I can. I know we have a lot on the agenda. So first part will be progress to date. So that's where we're at right now, and we've got some up-to-date photos as of last week. The second part will be progress over the next 3 months, and that should take us pretty darn close to completion. We're looking at a possible move in towards the end of February, beginning of March, which that takes us kind of towards the end of our tenure here. And then the third is the budget update, where I'll just walk you through briefly where we're at financially. So progress to date, we've gotten a lot done since the last time I was here. The building envelope is absolutely complete now. All the utilities are installed to the new building. So we do have gas and electric now installed at the facility, and the facility is heated. Interior concrete floors and drains are all complete. So in essence, at this point in time, we can park inside the facility. We've held off right now to give the contractor as much possible room as they can get to keep working on all the incidental items they got to complete inside the building. Masonry work is all complete. You'll see around the facility, sidewalk is poured in a couple of stretches. We have all the exterior concrete poured, all the approaches, and all the interior concrete is poured. Office and employee welfare areas are all framed in and ready for drywall. They're blocked in for cabinetry and also the electrical is roughed in. Mechanical, plumbing, and electrical for the entire facility is completely roughed in, and the interior painting has begun. So we've got a lot of the shop area completed, and many of the smaller office spaces, shop areas are completed with painting. Here is a photograph taken at the southeast corner of the parking lot, which is near the intersection of Talcott and Eric Street. This is the actual facility. This is no longer the rendering. So it's pretty exciting to see it. It very closely resembles the rendering, which is a good thing. This is taken from the upper mezzanine, which is on the east side of the building, looking towards the west, which is the shop section of the facility. This is the parking area. So this is where all the medium-sized equipment and lawn equipment will be parked. On the far left or right side of the picture will be all the heavy equipment. This is the training center looking to the east. This is actually the area where we have our warming kitchen. So all that blocking in there you see is for the cabinetry that was shown in the original plans. And then directly behind the picture taker is the space where we have seating for approximately 60 people. This is some of the items in the mechanical area where they're installing them. This is a room that will house various mechanical pieces that will require regular maintenance for us, but is not a usable storage area for us. Here's the electrical room. This is where all of the wiring comes into the facility and soon to be fiber optic running into this facility also. And it is set up and ready to go. This is maintenance bays and the concrete area that was poured, I think it was about a week ago now. And this is where the shop area will be. So this is where we'll service all of the vehicles and equipment within the city. Here is the wash bay, and we're awaiting, you can see that it's painted. We're just waiting for the company that's producing the wash unit for us to come in and do the installation. But all the floor drains are in and it's plumbed and ready to go. This is looking kind of behind the facility to the south. The new facility is on the left-hand side and directly in front of the center of the picture there. That's the west shed. The west shed is painted and the complete exterior is done. All the windows are in and the overhead doors are in. It's just waiting the smaller man doors to go in. And then they were prepping during this picture for binder. They started bindering today. So it's pretty exciting to see that asphalt's actually going down. This is the west garage. That's again completed. All the new windows are in. The overhead doors are in. It's just awaiting the replacement of the rotted old steel doors that you see that are still red. And that is again the completed salt shed. You'll see there the concrete is poured, and as of today, there's asphalt all the way around that building. So the progress over the next 3 months that we would expect to complete would be the interior steelwork. So the stairs and ladders to all the different hatches getting out onto the roof lines and the overhead storage areas. Then we have interior painting to be completed. Interior finishes, interior doors, and equipment installation. So that'll continue over the next several months till we move in. They did put the air handlers in, and they're putting in a variety of other air moving pieces of equipment over the next 2 weeks. The bid package for the FF&E, which is furniture finishes and equipment, that did go out. So we did release that prospective bid, and we should see something by the 10th of December. The MEP and FP equipment, device installation and testing. So that's all of the mechanical items, the heaters and electric equipment, that all the installation and testing is being done over the next several months. Building completion again is expected in February, and I would expect that more towards the middle to end of February. And then hopefully shortly thereafter, we'll have furnishing installs with the racking, shelving, and desks and storage space. The West Park Shed and Garage interior facelift will take place in the spring. So that will be when we empty that facility out and they'll come in and clean the concrete and paint all the interior finishes in there. Existing garage demo, that will be expected shortly after we move in. The area where the existing office space and garage is right now essentially will become a paved area where we can stage equipment and move equipment around. And then the landscaping will be finished up in the springtime also. Furniture, fixtures, and equipment. So I just put together this brief slide just to keep everybody on the level playing field. We did put the request for proposals out yesterday. I'm sorry, Monday. And then the bid, we're expecting completion of the bidding on December 10th. And the council should expect to see that on the December 17th council agenda for award of those bids. But those are the various pieces of equipment and items that we're looking at. We have some shop items that we need, storage items, and then office space items. So desks, chairs, conference table, those types of things. And then as far as the budget update goes, so the original contract sum bid for the construction was $11,544,000 plus 5% contingency, which was approved by the council, took us to $12,121,200. Completed work to date with all materials to be installed and stored. Right now, we're at about 8 million, 8.6 million, almost 8.7 million. So we're about 71 or 72% complete to date. And that last 28% is a hard push to get a lot of the little things taken care of inside the building before we move in. So here's the breakdown. It's tough to see the remaining on that, but you'll see that soft costs have remained the same. We're completed about 89% to date on that. We have some utility and construction oversight that's running continuously through this process that will be, you'll see as we get towards the end for the fourth update, that'll be completed out. Building construction, again, we're about 71 or 72% complete. We have about $3 million, $3.5 million remaining to finish the project. Furnishing and fixtures and equipment, those are the things that we're bidding out now. Those items, we still have a complete budget of $545,000. And again, we expect to see bids by the 10th of December and hopefully bringing that to the council by the 17th. So all in all, for the complete project, we're about 52, close to 53% done. That includes all the soft costs, all the furnishings and equipment in the building. As far as the construction side of things, again, we are 71% complete. And that's all I have right now in slides. If you've got any questions, I'm absolutely happy to answer them.
Yeah, thanks for the update and for the visuals.
Yeah.
Been
Thank you.
fun to see this come along.
Yeah, especially working there every day.
Yes. Anyone have any questions for the superintendent?
You feel that we're doing good then by these numbers with the
Absolutely,
should they
yeah,
actually
even
come in under budget
yeah,
yet?
even with the items that we've had as items that have dipped into the contingency, we've been very cognizant of trying to keep and control costs through the process. So I would expect that we are well on track to be certainly within budget, hopefully under budget, but certainly within the budget that we put forward.
Perfect.
You mentioned not being able to necessarily move in until February, March timeframe.
Yep.
Obviously, with the winter coming up, you don't see any interruptions to service for snow removal, et cetera, that.
Not at all. Today, we have 5 trucks set up and we will be parking shortly here. We're meeting tomorrow to kind of discuss logistics. But again, the facility is ready for us to park inside and they've even accomplished so much as to get heat into the shop area, which we did not expect. So we're going to meet tomorrow on that. But I think the public and certainly the council can expect to see us parking inside the facility within the next couple of days. At least the snow removal equipment, some of the other smaller items can stay where they're at stored, but the heavy snow removal equipment, we will get inside. You bet.
No questions. Just glad to hear it's all coming along so well. It's going to be really it seems like a facility the city can be really proud of, and I think that's great.
We've worked hard, and I hope the city is proud of it. That we've worked hard to be I don't want to say frugal, but very conscious of costs, and I think we've put together a pretty good plan.
Okay, thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Item 6B, presentation from Trilogy Consulting LLC relating to the city's stormwater utility, water utility, and wastewater utility. Director of Public Works, Sally.
Thank you. We had Trilogy on board last year, gave a similar presentation, I think maybe at the same meeting. What they have been tasked with is essentially taking a look at our year in review financially for the three utilities, stormwater, wastewater, and water, and then also updating projections that we maintain for 5 or 6 years out. They'll provide you a synopsis of that, as well as kind of the rate structure that we have moving forward and some recommendations for that. Christy and Eric are on the line here from Trilogy. Christy, you should be able to share your screen, I think, on your end of things. And council can ask questions and things like that at the end, and answer any questions.
Yeah, I'm
So,
gonna let Eric share his screen because he's gonna walk through the stormwater utility and water utility, and then I'll wrap us up with the wastewater.
Perfect. Take it away. Thanks.
All right, thank you. There we go. Does everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, as Andy said, we're here basically to update, give you an update on where we're at when we first took a look at this a year ago. Just executive summary is that we're on track with everything. We don't have any, real changes, but kind of, inform everyone where we're at. So starting with the stormwater, just to rehash the history here. This was first established in 2009. It was a pretty small rate when it was established at $27.60 per year. That was gradually increased in 2020, and then no further increase was implemented since then until this year. We have taken a look at the stormwater utility last year and saw the need for several rate increases over the next several years in order to accomplish the utility's goals. So that first increase of 25% was implemented at the beginning of this year, $65.63 per equivalent residential unit per year. The utility did have some reserves that has been spending those down over the last several years and over the next couple on mostly capital projects. So we will be pretty skinny on the stormwater utility reserves. So again, that's one reason why we need to implement these rate increases. Also, as you see for the new public works facility, the stormwater needs to carry its share of that debt service. It also needs to carry its share of the ongoing annual street replacement program and the infrastructure replacement related to stormwater. We need to manage our reserves, and then we know there are some larger capital projects coming up in the future, and we want to be able to build up some reserves in order to accomplish those projects. So again, for next year, we're looking at the 20% increase. All of these numbers are the same as we were originally looked at a year ago. So 20% in 2025, and then gradually decreasing 15% in 26, 10% in 27, 5% in 28, and then 3% annually after that, just to keep up with inflation on O&M and capital. Just to show you what our projections are as far as our cash flow and reserves. With the main thing is here, our solid blue line is our net cash flow. So we are looking at about a break even for this year, but we would see some decreases, some small negative cash flow for next year and the year after, just barely. And again, we're going to be sitting on those reserves. This red dashed line is our unrestricted reserves in the utility fund, and will be real skinny for the next couple of years. But then as we implement these rate increases, we'll get back to a healthier spot so we can maintain a healthy reserve and start to build up those funds so you accomplish all the utilities goals. And as far as where you're at with your peer communities, these are all the communities that have stormwater utilities in the Rock River Basin. because they also have a number of these similar kinds of needs, projects, mandated capital things that they have going on. So this red bar was where you were at prior to this year, at 5250 per year. The next yellow one is where we're at today. This yellow one, kind of in this big clump of the average amount, is after the 20% in 2025, and then the 2026 bump would leave you here. But again, at the higher end of this kind of clump in the average. Although I will say that as I was updating this graph, basically it looks exactly the same as it did last year, because about half of these communities have also increased their stormwater rates in the past year. So everyone's just kind of keeping up with where they're at, because they have similar things going on. I guess I'll pause here for any questions on stormwater before moving on to water.
Just one quick question in relation to the other communities that are on this chart. So they're all within the Rock River Basin.
Yep.
Do you know why is it that some on the far right side of the chart have significantly higher rates? Does it have to do with like their infrastructure of what they have, how stormwater is being treated?
I can't offer any specifics on that. I can say just and generally, the funding for stormwater utilities is all over the place as far as how much communities want to fully fund their stormwater projects with the utility. Since historically it's always been funded with a general fund, and a lot of communities it's just kind of where they're at in the transition to fully fund their stormwater utilities. I'd say these ones on the right, the higher ones, are probably closer to that stage, where the ones on the lower end are really still just, maybe trying to build some extra revenue, but maybe not fully funding their stormwater needs through the utility. I guess I can't offer specifics on any of these communities, but I would say generally that's kind of what we see for stormwater utilities around the state.
Thanks.
Yep.
I would also add, President Lesko here, that's the gap in that TMDL that I'll talk about actually later this evening. But how far away you are from the goals of your pollution reduction has an impact on that rate as well. So the city's gap is not quite as large perhaps as some other communities, and the funding reflects that.
Okay, so moving on to the water utility. And the water utility is regulated by the Public Service Commission, so there's a lot less flexibility in being able to respond to changing conditions. The last full rate increase, which is going through the full conventional rate case process, which takes a matter of 6 to 9 months with the Public Service Commission. That was completed in October 2021. It was a substantial increase at the time. The main driver of that being to funding of your annual water main replacement program, with the goal of replacing 1% of mains per year beginning in 2022, which the utility has accomplished since that time. But we have seen that program does not cover costs for hydrants and services that are also replaced at the same time as the water mains, and we've seen those costs rise faster than some other ones. So when we looked at this a year ago, we did recommend that if the utility were to qualify for the simplified rate increase process through PSC rules, that they should do that. At the time, we weren't sure if the utility would qualify for this year, because it was right on the edge. But with the eligibility requirements that PSC put in place in the spring, it did qualify for the increase of 4.1%, and that was implemented July 1st of this year. At the time of last year, we weren't sure exactly what percentage increase it would be, because the PSC updates that every year. We were assuming it would be 3%, but we did get a little bit more this year. But we continue to recommend, if the utility is eligible for those increases, to implement them. It is only eligible for 2 more, one in 2025, and I'm estimating that to be 4%, and another in 2026. and I'm estimating that to be 3%. After that time, with PSC rules, if there another rate increase is needed, you'd have to go through the full conventional rate case process again. So again, we're pretty much on track from what we were looking at last year, in updating kind of our future projections there. There might be a need to borrow for a portion of some additional main construction, that's in excess of that 1%. There's some additional mains looking at in 2026, but hasn't been determined if it's going to be necessary to borrow, but there might be a need to borrow for a portion of that. Again, just looking at the cash flow, if we were to receive those increases of 4% in 2025 and 3% in 2026, again, not knowing what they will actually be when they're set by PSC, but last year to this year and this year to next year, we're looking at pretty stable reserves and cash flow, kind of around that break even, but maintaining that a healthy reserve. We should see a little dip in 2026, and that's just if there needs to be an increase in the debt service. It's just a matter of how much of those projects are going to be can be taken out of reserves. And so that's why we see that dip in the reserves. That would pay for at least a portion of those capital projects. Again, looking at this is the statewide comparison of all the Class A/B utilities. So that's utilities with 4,000 customers or more. And I just wanted to show you kind of the history. Prior to that big increase in 2021, you had some of the lowest rates in the state at this red bar on the left. After that increase, we did above average rates for the state. And then, of course, with these the next yellow one is where we're at today. And then if we do get another 4% next year, that would be the far right yellow bar. And again, I would say it's the same thing on the water. We are seeing a lot of medium to high rate increases all around the state, in a lot of communities for a lot of different reasons. So it's since this was last prepared, several communities have jumped from the middle up to the top. So it's the same case where a lot of utilities are facing some pretty heavy investment and have to increase their rates to pay for that. So any questions on water then?
I'll just add that 2026 potential borrowing that Eric mentioned, we have a lot of flexibility with that. The reason right now in our projections for that is that we're going to work on 4 or 5 streets up kind of generally the northeast section of the city as part of our annual program. But then if you recall, we're going to do the South Main Street pedestrian path in 26 tentatively. And that also includes some water main underneath the portion of that we want to get at. So if we do both together, that would necessitate borrowing. We have the opportunity to push any of those streets out to the following year if we decide that borrowing is not in the best interest of our utility at that time. So quite a bit of flexibility with that in 26.
Okay, if you'd like to proceed with the wastewater utility.
Yep, I'll throw it over to Christy.
All right, okay. Same story here, staying the course. Basically what we recommended last year is what we would like to see, recommend to continue. But just some history here, the last full rate study was completed in 2020. And at that point, we recommended a series of 3 6% increases per year for 21, 22, and 23 to cover the $14 million, major upgrade at the wastewater treatment plant. And that study also recommended and projected 3% per year kind of inflationary increases for 2024 and future years. So that's our recommendation to continue on with that. The rates were increased by 3% in 2024, and the recommendations do the same this year. As you'll see on the next slide, the wastewater utility does have very healthy reserves right now, but we are recommending small inflationary increases because the current revenues from your customers are really not quite enough to cover operation and maintenance plus debt service plus routine capital replacements. So we want to get you in a situation where you're keeping up with those increases in operation and maintenance expenses. You've got about $6 million of capital projects in your capital improvement program for the next 5 years. So with these series of 3% rate increases, you'll basically be able to fund about half of that 6 million from existing reserves and money that was borrowed this year. And then the other half will come from current wastewater revenues each year. So you will be drawing down some of those reserves. If you want to go to the next slide, Eric, I'll just kind of show you what that looks like. So again, the green line is what we would recommend as kind of a target minimum level of reserves for the utility. That's 3 months of operation and maintenance expenses. You've got a $1.4 million in an equipment replacement fund that's mandated by DNR for communities like yours that have a clean water fund loan. And then there's another 400,000 in there for unplanned capital projects that might not be covered by that equipment replacement fund, because there's restrictions in place on what you can use that for. So right now you'll see the red dashed line, you've got a substantial amount in reserves, and that does include 1.5 million that was borrowed this year that will be spent on the solar project at the wastewater treatment plant. So that's part of why those are look so high right now. And then you'll see that dropping quite a bit next year. City staff, indicated that there's plans to loan some funds from the wastewater utility to TID number 9 to be repaid in the future. So that big drop in that red line is reflecting that. I wanted to show where you would be at over the next few years without those funds in the wastewater utility. So as you can see, even with some small 3% per year increases, you're going to be drawing down those reserves, which is fine. That's an appropriate use of those funds to fund some of your capital improvements rather than borrowing for those or increasing rates even more. Next slide shows, again, that community rate comparison like we've seen for the other utilities. And your wastewater rates are very low still, even with the series of increases you've had over the last 4 years. So right now, that yellow bar shows where you're at right now for an average annual residential bill. So that's just under $310 per year for sewer. The proposed rates for 2025 would increase that by about $10. So you see about $1.65 increase on the bi-monthly bill for these with these increased wastewater rates. So yes, with that, I guess we'll be happy to take it. I have one more thing I want to mention too on the rate structure in your memo. It's most of the rates you'll see are increasing by that 3%. There are a little bit higher increases for pollutant loadings for high strength industrial customers. We did do a full update of the whole sewer cost of service analysis now that the wastewater treatment plant project is completed. And so those a little bit higher increases for those reflect higher costs for treating pollutant loadings for industrial customers. So with that, I'll take any questions that anyone has on this.
Are there any wastewater utility questions? I'm hearing none. Eric and Christy, thank you for the updates. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
No action
you.
is required on this item. We will move on to item 6C, review and possible action relating to a petition by the city of Fort Atkinson to vacate Trillium Drive. Director Selly.
Thank you. It pains me a bit to have to come before you for this. As you recall, we had outlined the Trillium Drive right-of-way in the spring of this year, along with breaking off the parcel that we'd intended for the multifamily project down on the Banker Road subdivision. As we went into the design with the new development and properly sized the stormwater pond, we found that right-of-way actually is fairly narrow in a few spots, and we need to vacate sections of it. We could have taken a surgical approach to this and tried to actually vacate the feet here and there that we need, but it actually is easier for us to just vacate the entire thing. It will come back before Planning Commission first as a preliminary plat of not only the Trillium Drive area, but also the associated roads to the north, which we're calling currently Street A and Street B, yet to be named, and Hawthorne Drive. So we're kind of wiping the slate clean and then immediately filling it back up again. It will come before council as a preliminary plat after Planning Commission takes a look at it. So the process for vacating, frankly, you're probably well aware of it since we've gone through it, I think, twice now in the last 2 years. But we submit the petition this evening. There is no action that is necessary, I don't believe, for that. And then that begins the process of the public notification. This will come back before council as a resolution to vacate, I believe, at the December 17th meeting, if I'm correct on that. And it will be formally taken care of. So we own all the property around it. We don't expect much in the way of public opinion on this, but simply a procedure that we need to follow. I'd be happy to answer any questions that that council might have related to this.
I assume this wasn't sent out in the bid package for the later agenda item. Or so you got the bids for the other streets that were gonna get done. This wasn't included in that, the street?
It is, yeah, this street. So because we own all of the land out there, the boundary for this right of way, the new right of way is included in the design.
Okay.
What we're now formally going to go through is to remove that old boundary, and then we'll put in the new formal boundary for that through the platting process.
Okay,
So by the time we actually go to divest ourselves of the land or sell the land, the new boundaries will be in place for that and set up.
so we're still gonna end up with a Trillium Drive street, it's just gonna be relocated.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And relocated by literally like from me to you.
Okay.
So just a little movement of the right of way, but which still, we need to make sure it's spot on,
Legality, yeah.
obviously.
It's a pretty easy one because we're the owner of the property.
Correct.
Nobody else can contest vacating a street that doesn't currently exist yet.
Yeah, certainly can provide input, public input, but yeah, there aren't any associated property owners here that are affected as we've had past instances.
Oh, I move to accept the petition from the city of Fort Atkinson to vacate Trillium Drive and direct staff to prepare the appropriate public notices.
Second,
We have a motion and a second to accept the petition to vacate. Any further discussion? Hearing none, the motion is to accept the petition from the city of Fort Atkinson to vacate Trillium Drive and direct staff to prepare the appropriate public notices. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion is approved.
Thank you.
Resolutions and ordinances, item 7A, review and possible action relating to a resolution adopting the 2025 annual budget and setting the property tax levy for the city of Fort Atkinson, Jefferson County, Wisconsin. City Manager Hausman, if you would make your final budget presentation.
Thank you. Okay. So just a couple items tonight on this final budget presentation. Changes from the draft budget that was presented and a public hearing took place on the 7th of November. We did get all of our levies certified from all the taxing jurisdictions. All of the tables and charts outlining those mill rates are complete in section C of the budget document, as well as all the final tax increment, district increment revenue in section O. And then there are 3 action items tonight requested. There's 3 resolutions, one adopting the 2025 budget and setting the property tax levy, and then another confirming the total tax levy and determining the mill rate. That does not include the school levy tax credit that I'll talk a little bit more about later. And then the 3rd resolution is to adopt the 2025 schedule of fees. So this is our that budget summary that remains unchanged from the public hearing on the 7th of November. So it should all look very familiar to you. The impact, I will say, and I will. Thank you for your patience there. So on the left side in the blue chart shows the city mill rate per 1,000 of assessed value for the last 10 years. You can see that the 2024 mill rate is $7.40 46 cents per thousand of assessed value. And then the total mill rate chart in the orange shows 2014 through 2023 on that orange chart include the school levy tax credit. 2024 does not, because we don't have that number yet. So that's why it looks like there's a larger jump. That number in 23 prior to the school levy tax credit was $20.84. So it is not a significant increase over last year. We will see that school levy tax credit within the next number of days. Obviously, that will be put onto the tax bill before it is mailed out, but we do not have that information yet. So overall, pretty minimum difference in property taxes. This is the mill rate breakdown per thousand of assessed value, showing all 4 taxing jurisdictions there. I will show you Jefferson County is in orange. MATC, the Technical College District, is in yellow there. The city of Fort Atkinson is green and the school district is in blue. So on the left-hand side of the slide, you can see the percentage change in mill rate. Jefferson County went down slightly. The school district went down slightly. MATC increased slightly, and the cities increased by 5.74%, which is the largest increase, but that again is mainly due to the increase in debt service. Let's see. So just the mill rate broken down as a percentage by the taxing jurisdiction. This is what the pie looks like, right? Every dollar of taxes is split up in this way. So the school district gets about 47%, the city about 35%, about 3% to the technical college district, and about 15% to the county. The chart on the left-hand side just shows the difference between 23 and 24. You can see it's relatively consistent over time. So this says 2023 levy requested, but it's really 2024 levy requested with the tax increment district revenue separated. So this just, the purpose of this chart is to just show that that tax increment district revenue is collected from each of the taxing jurisdictions and put into our tax increment district funds, and we have 5 funds for each of our 5 tax increment districts. This chart, the table, excuse me, shows the estimated city tax bill comparison at various assessed values. Since the last presentation, I did include that that average assessed value for a single family dwelling in the city, which is $238,300. So you can see that 2023 mill rate versus the 2024 mill rate and the effect there, the difference in the city portion of the tax bill for the average value of a single family home in the city is about $96 for the year, or about $8 per month difference. Again, that's just the city's portion. Looking at the estimated total tax bill, again, this was without the school district, the school levy tax credit. For the average assessed value, it's about $81 of increase from 2023, or $6.78 per month. So you can see that it is not a huge difference. In 2023, the school levy tax credit was $1.95 per thousand of value. So it is usually about $1.75 to $2. So we would expect that amount to come off the top of that center column, which is the total estimated mill rate. So that would come off the top of that mill rate before tax bills are created and sent out. And I used this slide last year, and I left it in here because I used it last year because we had our intermarket update last year and everybody's assessed values changed. But I think it's really important to understand, of all of the things that we talk about here during the budget workshop, the initial public hearing and presentation, and then this presentation, We talk about a lot of numbers and a lot of things that that aren't included on the tax bill. So I just wanted for the council's information as well as for public information to just kind of go through that list of things that are on the tax bill and that are not. So that assessed value of a property, that's on the tax bill. That average assessment ratio, we talked about that a little bit more in the last presentation. That's you know, the comparison between assessed value and equalized value. This, to be in compliance with state statutes, we need to be plus or minus 100% of value, or plus or minus 10, excuse me, of 100%. So between 90 and 110% of equalized value, the assessed value needs to be kind of backwards.
Can
But
I
yes,
ask a quick
yes,
question?
yeah.
I noticed in the packet, we're at about 91% right now. So is there a concern in the next year or two if we fall below 90%, we're going to have to do another full revaluation?
Yes, there is a concern. I think that's where we're headed. We are looking at a couple different options. We can be out of compliance for a few years before the state sends us letters indicating that we have to come back in. However, we would hope that in 2026, we can do a full value maintenance, which would be a new contract with our assessor that would ensure compliance with state statutes annually and would keep our assessed value within 10% plus or minus of equalized value annually. So then we wouldn't have to worry about every 5, every 7, every 10 years doing a reval. It would be full value maintenance annually. Of course, that contract is more expensive than the contract we currently have. And we, up to this point, have not been able to include that in the budget, but we're hopeful that in 2026, given some of the other financial changes that will happen with the city, including a TID closure, we're hopeful that we can get that into the 2026 budget for full value maintenance.
Good to hear.
Great question. Thank you. The total tax payment due is on that tax bill. The assessed net assessed value rate, that is that mill rate after the school levy tax credit is removed, but before the first dollar in lottery credits for anybody who receives those. Any and all approved referenda are on the tax bill. The net taxes for 2023 and 2024 will be on there, as well as the state aids to taxing jurisdictions. The items that are not included on the tax bill, however, are the prior year assessed value of the property, which, you know, last year was really important because it was caused a lot of confusion. Last year with the reval, property values went up on average 48%, and that prior year assessed value was not included on the tax bill. So that created some issues. The mill rate for each taxing jurisdiction and the change in that mill rate, that's not on the tax bill.
Doesn't it state the change in like percentage?
I actually looked at a tax bill right before my old tax bill, right before I did this. It's not, it's a percentage in the actual dollar amount,
Okay,
not in the rate.
okay. I just know I've seen the percentage wise, so that makes sense then.
A dollar amount or percentage allocated to TIDS, that's not on there. And the dollar amount or percentage that's allocated from the school district's levy to private school voucher programs, that's also not included on the tax bill. So we don't have control over what's on the tax bill. So, I mean, it would be great to be able to include all these things, but we don't have control over that. So I do think it's important to note you know, what our residents and taxpayers are seeing on that bill versus the numbers that we talk about here. Any questions on that? Okay. That is all I have as far as a presentation tonight. Just our recommended actions, again, are just going to be those 3 resolutions that are in the packet and on the agenda for action tonight. Adopting the 2025 annual budget, confirming the total tax levy for all the taxing jurisdictions, and then adopting the 2025 schedule of fees. I would be happy to answer any questions from the council about the budget in general or anything that we went over tonight. Oh, I will add one thing. At the public hearing, one resident did ask about the debt service increase. And I just wanted to point out that when the city acquires debt, It is repaid in accordance with the debt schedule, and that debt schedule is determined by our financial advisors and staff, and then it's also approved by the city council and then codified through our bonds. So we have pieces of paper, actual pieces of paper that are stapled on the top that are, recorded, that have the dollar amount for each issue, for each borrowing, the dollar amount that we are scheduled to pay back on an annual basis. So we try to keep the debt service level consistent by structuring those payments in a way that doesn't include large jumps in principal or large jumps in principal year to year. But when you have more debt, it just increases that cost. And even when you try to our strategy for the large debt, for the large borrowing in 2024 for the Public Works facility was to structure it such that there would be increases, but moderate increases for several years versus a gigantic increase. So that all of those debt payments through 2044, so every single payment that the city is responsible for making through 2024 is included in the budget document that is on the website and before you tonight, on pages 134 through 161, with a summary of all of that debt on page 161 across all funds. So the general fund, which is what the city levies taxes to pay for, the general fund portion of our debt service, that summary is on page 142 through 2044. So those payments are set, including when we pay off debt. That's all structured in that. That's all structured together and put together so that we have one payment that we can plan for into the future. So any questions for me on this before moving forward?
Just really appreciate, I know it's many, many hours of hard work for both you and the entire city staff to work on this. And I did read through, I actually read through the packet again today and just went through the budget. And I would really encourage residents who think that we don't plan things out or that we do things, kind of slapshod, to really look at that budget document, because it does tell a good story about the city. And it shows how much careful thought is put into all of the money that we do spend and the resources that we utilize on behalf of the residents. So just appreciate all the hard work.
Thank you.
I think it's worth noting too, that one of the other things we were asked at the public hearing was if there were any areas of the budget where there are reductions in spending. And of course, you could look through the 250 some page document and you will see that there are several line items where there are reductions, and some are nominal supply accounts that are down slightly, and some are several $1,000s or more. And specifically, I noted that they were for the items like building repairs and workers' compensation insurance, overtime salaries at the police department, sand and salt for road treatment. Those accounts are all down. Majority of the line items, if you look at them, remain flat year over year. But one thing we know for sure, that every year, when we close out the budget year, there are plenty of line items that are underspent. There will also be some that are overdrawn. Of course, all of our departments, when they are overdrawn in some areas, do everything they can to find other areas within their own mini budget to offset those. So I just wanted to point that out in case anybody was wondering what the answer on that one may be. And I too would just like to thank staff for guiding us through another budget season. It is a time-consuming and multi-month endeavor, and the professionalism that we get in this is always much appreciated.
Thank you.
I will move to approve the resolution adopting the 2025 annual budget and setting the property tax levy for the city of Port Atkinson.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve. Is there any further comments? Hearing none, motion is to approve the resolution adopting the 2025 annual budget and setting the property tax levy for the city of Fort Atkinson. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Item 7B, review and possible action relating to a resolution confirming the total levy for taxing jurisdictions in the city of Fort Atkinson and determining the mill rate. Manager Houseman.
This was part of the budget presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you have about this particular resolution. It does outline all of the things that I have mentioned during the last couple of presentations. Includes the dollar amounts, certified required levy for operating for all 4 taxing jurisdictions, and then the adjusted rate that includes our tax increment districts. The table 1 in that resolution includes all more information about our tax increment districts, including the total dollar amount that will go into those 5 separate funds for 2025, and that is almost $1.7 million. I would be happy to answer any questions about this resolution as well.
Are there any comments or questions?
I'd move to approve the resolution confirming the total levy for taxing jurisdictions in the city of Fort Atkinson and determining mill rate.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any further discussion? Hearing none, the motion is to approve the resolution confirming the total levy for taxing jurisdictions in the city of Fort Atkinson and determining the mill rate. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Item 7C, review and possible action relating to a resolution establishing the 2025 schedule of fees for the city of Fort Atkinson, Jefferson County. Manager Houseman.
Thank you. So before you have the schedule of fees, the Finance Committee reviewed this item back in September. It was part of the workshop in October. The council saw this schedule of fees in October as well. It looks a little different than it did before. The previous version had the 2024 fee next to the 2025 fee. For this final resolution, we removed the 24 fees and just have those 2025 fees. The council also saw this in draft form with the comparison fees at the meeting on the 7th of November. And I'd be happy to answer any questions about the final set of fees. Nothing in this document has changed from the version that you saw on November 7th. If you do recall, on November 7th, we had a couple, I think 2 or 3 additions that weren't in the previous version, but nothing in this version has changed from that version that the council saw on the 7th of November.
Any questions on this for the city manager? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve the resolution establishing the 2025 schedule of fees for the city of Fort Atkinson with an effective date of January 1st, 2025.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any further discussion? Hearing none, the motion is to approve the resolution establishing the 2025 schedule of fees for the city of Fort Atkinson with an effective date of January 1st, 2025. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion is approved. Item 7D, review and possible action relating to a resolution approving interfund loans from the general fund and the wastewater utility fund to tax increment district number 9 to support the Banker Road Public Infrastructure Project in the city of Fort Atkinson, Jefferson County, Wisconsin. Manager Houseman.
Thank you. As our utility financial consultants referred to a little bit earlier tonight, we are proposing to take a couple loans out from the general fund and the wastewater utility fund to help support the Banker Road infrastructure project. So we have designed and bid this project, and it is located in tax increment district number 9. It is to support the 35-acre residential development on the west side of Banker Road. We do not have the development agreement that I reference in the staff report quite yet. We're working on it. I have another meeting tomorrow, and I expect that to be before the council on the December 17th city council meeting, and go to the EDC likely before that. So we did borrow $3.2 million in 2024 to support this project. At the time, the scope of the project was a little bit different. It included Banker Road, Trillium, Drive, and Hawthorne Drive. Since that time, we were very pleased to get a grant from the DOT for $1.4 million to support the construction of Banker Road. So from there, we shifted to make other connections in this neighborhood to be able to move forward with construction as soon as possible, but leave Banker Road out of it in order to take advantage of that grant. So in doing that, we bid out the project, realized that $3.2 million was not quite enough, and we were left with a little bit of a gap. And we thought about different ways to fill that gap, including additional borrowing or interfund loans. So what we are recommending tonight with advice from the city's financial advisors as well as our auditors, that we are recommending that the general fund loan $625,000 to TID 9 and the wastewater utility fund loan $1 million to TID 9 without interest and to be repaid between the years 2030 and 2043 through the schedule that's outlined in the staff report. So I will say that the city's general fund balance exceeds the current minimum general fund policy. As of the 2023 audit, that unassigned fund balance was about $3.8 million, which is 39% of our budgeted general fund expenditures for the same year. The policy goal is between 15 and 30%. Our 2024 audit has not been completed. Obviously, we're not done with that year yet, but our projections included in our 2025 budget document include the growing that fund balance due to conservative budgeting on interest income. So we did very well on interest in 2024, a lot better than we budgeted for, and we do continue to budget very conservatively when it comes to interest and interest income. So the temporary reduction of $625,000 in that fund balance, the city would remain above the stated policy goal around 32%. As I indicated previously, I have had discussions with our financial advisors at Baird, and they've indicated that a loan with a payback schedule, such as the one included in the resolution and the staff report tonight, would not negatively impact the city's future bond rating. Likewise, the city's wastewater utility has a healthy unrestricted net position that far exceeds 30% of the total budgeted operating expenditures, as was referenced earlier this evening. That 2023 audit shows that unrestricted net position of about $3.9 million. The 2023 budgeted expenditure total was $3.3 million. So with the temporary reduction of $1 million in that fund balance, the utility would remain above 50% of the total budgeted expenditures. And the city's utility consultants have not expressed any concern over a loan of this nature. I know this is kind of a complicated and maybe a little unique funding mechanism, but I think it is an efficient and effective and economical way to use funds that are already in the city's control and possession to fill a gap that we have found in order to create additional economic development and additional housing in this community with a payback schedule that will be included on the pro formas that when we do a financial analysis for a tax increment deal, such as the development along Banker Road, we include all of the debt service that is required to make that project go as expenses in the TID. And in order to make sure that the project cash flows, we include that debt as well. So it will be the debt that we borrowed on the market, that $3.2 million, plus this internal debt would all be included in that pro forma to be paid back through the increment generated by the development in TID 9. So with just the current development that we're working on, this cash flows. So, and that does not include the tax increment district number 9 is much larger than just the city-owned land along Banker Road. It's a much larger, there's other vacant land. There's land across the bypass that's included in that tax increment district. So this is a very, relatively speaking, it's a small land area that will generate enough revenue to pay back this loan, to pay back the other loan, and to really generate the kind of spark that we need to create additional housing in the city of Port Atkinson. So We are recommending approval of this resolution tonight. I would be happy to answer any questions from the city council on this matter.
I like it. It's creative. You know, different. I have seen mechanisms like this utilized in other communities, so it's not something that's we're creating out of whole cloth, but I like that it's a little bit outside the box and it's using funds we already have through our various utilities and so forth. I know some people might look at that figure. It's a big number, relatively speaking, but I really feel good about this project more and more, and I feel like we've got a really good development team at the table, and I think that they really understand what's happening, not just in Fort Atkinson and in Jefferson County as a whole. And they understand the total economic picture we're dealing with. So I'm happy that we're able to move this piece forward at this time.
I will also just say that while we are very confident with this development agreement and with our development partners, if for some reason that development agreement does not work out the way we intended, the city owns the land. The city then will have put in the infrastructure, and there will be a lot of interest in this area with all the infrastructure engaged. So even if this particular development agreement does not work out as planned, we will be set up for a high degree of success for the future. I do not think, even without this development, that the city would be in a negative position as far as paying back these loans.
Developers do tend to get excited when it's city-owned land that already has infrastructure in place that clears a few big hurdles right from the get-go.
Yes.
I do appreciate the way you eloquently characterized it as efficient, effective, and economical. And also worth reiterating that it would not negatively impact our bond rating at all. What is the likelihood that if things progress as we would like them to, that we would be in a position to pay back those interfund loans even faster than what's proposed?
Yes, I mean, that is a very real possibility. Although what I would recommend is that if we are paying down debt sooner, we should be paying down the debt that has interest attached to it.
Good point.
So our note anticipation note series 2024B has interest attached to it. I believe we borrowed $3.5 million, $300,000 of that was capitalized interest. We will, at the end of the day, be paying back with interest probably about $5.7 million. So being able to borrow $1.6 million from ourselves without interest is very advantageous. And then I would anticipate if the TID allows us to pay debt back sooner, that we would pay back that note anticipation note that does not have any prepayment penalties.
Thanks. Any other questions? Or is there a motion?
I move to approve the resolution approving inter-funds loans from the general fund and wastewater utility fund to tax increment district number 9 to support the Banker Road Public Infrastructure Project in the city of Fort Atkinson, Jefferson County, Wisconsin.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any further discussion? Hearing none, the motion is to approve the resolution approving interfund loans from the general fund and the wastewater utility fund to tax increment district number 9 to support the Banker Road Public Infrastructure Project in the city of Fort Atkinson, Jefferson County, Wisconsin. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Reports of officers, boards, and committees. Item 8A, City Manager's Report. Manager Hausman.
Thank you. Last week, the city mailed letters to about 1,300 property owners in the city who have either lead, galvanized, or an unknown material for their water services. The new lead rules require that the city verify and catalog the different types of pipe used in our water system and then remove any that are made out of lead or galvanized steel. Luckily, the city has hard water, which generally prevents our water from contacting the lead pipe material. We are working on a plan right now to replace pipes that need replacement over the next 10 years. And I just want to point out that we have a ton of information on our website about our lead service program, as well as how to help us determine what your service is. So I encourage everybody to take a look at the city's website and our last press release about this information as well. On November 13th, I attended the Wisconsin Policy Forum Salute to Local Government Awards in Milwaukee. It was a great event and an honor to see awards presented to local governments and school district officials for innovative solution to community challenges. And locally, I will just give a shout out to the Whitewater School District. They were honored for their community ESL program. Thank you to the Horde Museum and wonderful staff there. Not only are they hosting the Black Hawk Artists show and sale that runs through November 21st and the Barbara Lorman exhibit as part of their programming, but they've also played excellent host to the recent all-staff meetings that we had for city employees on November 14th and the retirement party for Sue Hartwick as executive director of the Community Foundation on the 15th. At that event, Megan Hartwick was announced as the new executive director for the Fort Atkinson Community Foundation. And I look forward to continuing the positive, mutually beneficial relationship that the city has with the Community Foundation under her leadership. I would also like to welcome Austin Armstrong to the city. He's been hired as in our Public Works Operations Department, and he started work last week. And I want to thank our Public Works team for putting up our downtown and Madison Avenue holiday lights today, marking the official start of the holiday season and giving us something pretty to look at when it gets dark at 4 p.m. So thank you for that. I would like to thank city staff, the city council, and the public for their support during the budget process. As one can imagine, it takes a whole team to put it together, this substantial document, which does serve as a roadmap for the upcoming year. So thank you to all involved, and I really look forward to implementing some of these great things that we have going on in 2025. City staff has been working together with the town of Oakland to discuss and review the fire EMS service by the city to more sections of that township. Chief Peterson is actually at the Oakland Town Board meeting tonight, and we hope to have an agreement for the city council to review in December. Andy Selly has decided to leave the city to pursue a new opportunity. He'll be around for a few more weeks, but I want to publicly thank him for his hard work and dedication to the city over the last almost decade of his life. He will, I'm sure, miss the annual sandwich that I bring him for Engineers Week, but maybe he'll still get one from someone else. The staff continues to work on a transition plan, which includes tonight's request for assistance with recruitment efforts, as well as engagement with an engineering firm that we will have, I think, for the next city council meeting for the council to review. And finally, our offices will be closed next week, Thursday and Friday for Thanksgiving. The compost site will also be closed. Just a quick reminder, the last day to take items to the compost site will be December 7th. And happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And I will hopefully get to stop talking for a little bit.
Thank you for that report. Item 9, unfinished business. There is none this evening. New business. Item 10A, review and possible action relating to an extraterritorial certified survey map for the property located at N 1394 Schwemmer Lane. Planning and Zoning Administrator Dreger.
Hello.
Oh,
So we see these from time to time come before council, plan commission before that. Extraterritorial zoning is a 3-mile boundary around the city. And then there's an interior ring of 1.5 miles, which comes before plan commission and city council for review and an approval if deemed appropriate. This one is a little bit different. It's a 1.1 acre parcel that's proposed to be split off of a parent parcel that is currently agriculture. And this would be a residential property. However, when reviewing these, we are asked to review these against the city's comprehensive plan. And in that comprehensive plan, our future land use map shows this as a planned mixed use area. So it's not in harmony with our comprehensive plan. However, the proposed use of this, the likelihood of that causing a negative impact on the city for any foreseeable future is very small. That also, another thing to look at is the city approving CSMs put before them that do not mix with our comprehensive plan, excuse me. Got a couple different thoughts going through my head there. So a couple different things we want to look at here is not approving these types of CSMs. However, that the potential of this is very small at causing harm to the city. There is another option that we have, the city staff is recommending. Chapter 236 of the Wisconsin state statutes, that it says that if the approving body does not take action on a CSM, then in essence, it is approving of it, but without actually taking that approval action. So I'll open myself to questions, but that is what city staff is recommending for this, by not taking potential precedent in approving something that is not in harmony with our comprehensive plan, but at the same time, not actively denying it.
I will just add, this is a little bit of a complicated situation, and the Plan Commission did review this last week, I guess, and the Plan Commission did not make a recommendation to the City Council. So the staff's recommendation is to not take any action on this item. As Jed mentioned, the city doesn't necessarily want to approve a certified survey map that is in conflict with our comprehensive plan. However, legally, we do not have the ground to deny it.
I would also like to point out that staff did speak with the owners and the applicant about this situation and explained the perspective of the city on this, and they were satisfied with the recommendation.
So just by not taking action on this, all it does is basically delays the approval time of their CSM.
Yep, timeframe is
It'll
9.
still
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
get approved
Yes.
in essence, but it'll just take a little longer for them.
Yeah, it's a 90-day timeline from the complete application.
And I think that date is the 90-day timeline would expire on December 17th. And as Jed mentioned, we've had this conversation with the applicant, and they were not planning to start any construction until the spring.
So by doing this, all we're doing is extending their time frame by technically 3 weeks.
Right.
Roughly. Okay.
And what it does for the city is provides kind of a roadmap for how to handle these in the future. And if it is an item that maybe has a greater impact on the city, the city may want to take it a step further.
Okay. And I definitely understand, the location of this property is not in a direction that the city is growing real fast towards, so it definitely shouldn't hurt us, but I understand the reasonings here.
As noted, we do not need to take action on this, but I would give anyone an opportunity to offer a motion if you so desire.
One thing I would point out, and I do think it's important that we try to stick to the comprehensive plan. A lot of time and effort and frankly money goes into preparing that document every 10 years as required by state law. Theoretically, though, a planned mixed use development could still happen in that area. This doesn't preclude that from happening. If they go forward with their plan, it could still theoretically happen there someday. So we're not really not undercutting our comprehensive plan, but I understand the rationale of just not taking an official action, and it seems like an appropriate one here.
Yeah, I think it would be important to point out that a planned use of that size would likely not be deterred by a single family home in that area.
Yeah, that better way of getting at that than I
No
was
worries,
saying.
And I would just point out too, if you look at the neighboring parcel, it's all being developed as a solar farm. So that's going to have more of a concern with our development in the future than this little parcel would.
Okay, just want to make sure that no one wants to offer an emotion on this. All right, then. We will move on.
Thank you.
Item 10B, review and possible action on a contract for the Banker Road public infrastructure installation with Forest Landscaping and Construction in an amount not to exceed $4,013,561.50. Director Selly.
Thank you. This is something I'm excited to bring to council. This is a long time coming to get to this point of a shovel in the ground out there on Banker Road. I don't know if anybody's driven down Horde Road, but there's a big, large excavator sitting out there next to that old abandoned house as we speak, which was good to see. The Banker Road proposals that we received, we received 8 of them. It was beyond our expectations. If I can get 3, we're doing well. 4 is amazing. So to get 8 on this is really, I think, a testament to sort of our strategy of trying to get this work done during the winter time, which is always a time that contractors are trying to fill with projects that have deadlines that are flexible for the weather and things like that. The cost then obviously associated with that is a factor because to fill that time, you have to be cost competitive. And we saw very competitive bidding between those 8 bids with only about $500,000 separating the low and the high bid, which was outstanding. I'm happy to see that the lowest qualified bidder was Forest Landscaping and Construction, who has worked here in the city for a number of years doing our water main replacement. All of these contractors were excellent and all qualified, but it is nice to work with folks that you can put a name to a face to. It's just an efficiency that exists on the staff side of things that's very helpful when we're stretched with projects like this.
Andy, yeah, sorry to interrupt, but you keep mentioning 8 firms. The bid summary shows 11, where like 3 of those not.
Oh, I'm sorry. 11 firms. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is even,
My apologies.
because I was blown away going through this, like knowing how tight some things are right now and how busy some of these firms are. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
You're
but
fine, no.
I want to make sure and I
Yeah,
was
thank you.
understanding and, I mean, that's phenomenal. So.
Yeah, it is outstanding. I'm not sure. We can figure out how outstanding it is by asking around, for some of the larger cities, but I would be surprised if we see numbers like that. Regardless, we talked about the financing this evening on that, how we're going to fund that $4 million project. But city staff recommends that we would move forward with Forest Landscaping and Construction and enter into a contract with them in that amount there, not to exceed $4,013,561.50. I'd be happy to take any questions that we have on this item.
I'd just like to say this is a long time coming, like you said, and
It is.
I'm glad to see it and glad to see a fairly local and reputable company being used for this. As you said, they've done quite a bit of work and done very good work for the city over the last few years, so.
Of course, it's all weather dependent, but to what extent would you like to see something happen out there yet this year? I mean, what could we likely see?
Well, I'm going to send them a notice to proceed, assuming approval this evening, and they're going to be mobilizing equipment out there tomorrow to start putting in erosion controls and things like that. So they're going to move very quickly with the weather that we have. Their end substantial completion date is September the 1st. So my guess is that they will work as hard as they can with the weather that we have until freeze up prevents it from continuing at an efficient rate. If we have a winter like we had last year, where we had virtually no frost and very little snow, we could easily see this continue through the wintertime and make some significant progress. Our goal is April 1st to have Trillium Drive ready for access so that our development partners can start foundations out there. So that's a milestone that's in the contract documents for the contractor performing the work in the right of way.
Yeah, I'll just echo it. This is a long time coming and very excited to be at this point. Again, congrats on getting 11 bids. I mean, that is phenomenal and just speaks to you and your team, the work that you do. So I will happily move to approve the contract for the Banker Road Public Infrastructure installation with Forest Landscaping and Construction, an amount not to exceed $4,013,561.50.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I will just quick point out for everybody that does not have a packet in front of them right now that the difference between that $4,013,000 contract and the $4.8 million that we've discussed earlier this evening has been a contingency or includes a 5% contingency on the project, additional design work, construction oversight, and gas and electric installation, which we will in turn get a lot of those back in, a lot of the gas and electric back in credits when meters are installed. So then that will be money that goes back into the TID that is able to pay back some of that other, the debt. So just wanted to connect those two tables for everybody.
Just one question there. We're not asking for a contingency for the contract that we are approving there right now, correct?
The
For the forest itself within that number, or does that number include their contingency?
I did not put in a contingency. I think the contingency on this, given my absence, is something that we'll discuss and understand exactly how that process might work. Previously, we had Manager Houseman and myself manage contingencies, but in my absence, I'll talk with Manager Houseman. We'll come up with a plan for that.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, the motion is to approve the contract for the Banker Road Public Infrastructure Installation with Forest Landscaping and Construction in an amount not to exceed $4,013,561.50. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Item 10C, review and approve for a signature of the Wisconsin DNR agreement formalizing phosphorus trading between the city and the wastewater treatment plant. Director Selly.
Thank you. I can't, I won't go into the details, but I am as excited about this as I am Banker Road. Frankly, this, I think the dividends from this agreement will pay significantly for the city in the decades to come with respect to this, this opportunity that we have. Much of the stormwater utility budget is centered around this TMDL, as you are aware, and that's essentially a reduction. It's a limit on the amount of pollution we can put into the Bark in the Rock River, and we have not reached that yet. There is a lot of money that needs to be spent to reach that, and so having this opportunity to essentially, from the DNR's eyes, trade between two entities that are completely separate, the wastewater treatment plant and the city, but in our eyes are in fact in lockstep, is a great opportunity for us. Without going into too much more detail on that, you'll note in the packet that there are a few minor details in that agreement to work out. The DNR is as short-staffed as any agency, and so the time for them to have some minor adjustments made by their attorneys takes anywhere from a few weeks to a month. So what you see in front of you is 99% of the agreement, and I would ask that Manager Houseman and myself have the okay from council to approve any of those minor edits and sign that agreement on behalf of the city of Fort Atkinson when it's ready.
So Andy, do you mind just going into a little bit of the detail? Just, I mean, just to explain so this is an agreement that allows us to use pollution reduction from the wastewater treatment plant in order to basically reduce the money that we have to spend on the stormwater side.
Correct.
For the same reduction.
I kind of use the term pollution units. So the TMDL states for both the wastewater treatment plant and the city that we have to reduce our input of pollution by 10 units each. It turns out that the wastewater treatment plant, when we made the investment in the upgrades, we reduced that by 15 units, 5 more than we needed to. So what we're saying is that the city of Fort Atkinson can take those additional 5 units that the wastewater treatment plant has exceeded and apply it to the 10 units of reduction that we need to make, thereby allowing us just simply 5 units of pollution reduction. If you transfer units into dollars, and I won't hesitate a guess as to what a unit of pollution translates into in dollars, but I would guess that it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 figures or more. It is a significant cost reduction for the city's stormwater utility in being able to have this trade in place. The trade is in place for the length of time of the permit. I believe the length of time for the permit is 10 years before they get renegotiated by the DNR. So regardless, when the permits are renegotiated, this agreement can also be renewed as is stated in that draft agreement. So again, it's a great opportunity for us to leverage the investments we've already made and frankly, the outstanding performance we're doing with those wastewater treatment upgrades.
Maybe the wastewater treatment plant is pretty easy to identify, the pollutant measurements, because it's all going out of basically one pipe out of the
Correct.
plant. Is there a brief way of describing how the stormwater is measured, or?
Yeah, it's largely a modeling effort. So whereas the plant actually dips a cup in the water and analyzes what's in the water as it goes down towards the river, the city is modeled in software. And without going into too much detail, essentially they look at the amount of impervious surface. They look at general amounts of pollution that are on those impervious surfaces. And that pollution is anything from oils and grease to sediment and salt and all the various other things that are on sidewalks and roads. And then they apply an annual rainfall event, right? So they say, all right, on average, it rains, in the city of Fort Atkinson, 70 inches per year. And so the model will then take that rain and push that pollution into the river on an average annual basis. And it will come up with a total, and it will say, okay, here's how much is going in. And now they've studied the river and they understand that the river can take 5 units of pollution. And they say, okay, your maximum then is 5 units of pollution. You're currently putting in 10. We need you to reduce it by 5. And the way we reduce that is by intercepting that water, doing various treatments to it, either putting it back into the ground through infiltration, putting it in a settling pond. So a lot of those pollutants will settle out. Or in some instances, we just simply let it run out into green space, which is frankly a fairly natural cleanser, and then infiltrate into the ground slowly that way as well. So a number of different ways to achieve those pollution reductions. The key, though, is that most of them require space. And as we all know, land is not cheap. So that's where a lot of this improvement comes from with respect to cost savings is in not having to purchase land to put in retention ponds and things like that.
I was just curious because it's easy to identify
It
the
is,
wastewater
yeah.
side, but
It's very,
we can't go and measure it each port of entry to the river and properly know, so.
yeah, honestly, the easiest way to show is when it rains, if we see muddy water going in the curbs and down the storm sewer, that's not what we want. We want to see clear water going off of all of our properties, parking lots, into the curb and into the storm sewer. So the clearer that water is, the better off we are in terms of our stormwater pollution reduction.
Okay.
Andy, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I think it's very exciting. It's obviously this is something brand new. I'm wondering how many communities will try to copy this if this is successful. But as you point out, stormwater facilities are incredibly expensive, or they can be, and not only is there that initial cost, but they also have to be managed and maintained, and so there's also a long-term cost. So I mean, I know you don't want to put a dollar figure on it, but this seems like long-term a really significant cost savings to the city. So it's tremendous.
It is. It is. I think this will, like I said, it'll, much like the Banker Road project, it'll pay dividends for folks that are going to be sitting in these seats long after we're gone.
I was just going to add that this is some groundbreaking work, and you may have undersold your participation in getting this agreement in place.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Takes a lot of folks to get to this point.
Okay, any other questions, or is there a motion?
Excuse me. I move to authorize the city manager to sign the Wisconsin DNR agreement, formalizing phosphorus trading between the city and the wastewater treatment plant.
Second.
A motion and a second to authorize the agreement. Any further discussion? Hearing none, the motion is to authorize the city manager to sign the Wisconsin DNR agreement formalizing phosphorus trading between the city and the wastewater treatment plant. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion is approved.
Thank you.
Item 10D, review and possible action relating to the preliminary plat review for 611 and 609 Grove Street. Director Selly.
Thank you. Again, a long time coming. If you recall, this land was provided to the city from the school districts. We had some community gardens on this land. And the intent was always to develop this land into residential lots. Unfortunately, we had a couple of sewers in the neighborhood that weren't really functioning. And I think council felt, as staff did, that it was not the right thing to do to add more volume to those sewer pipes that were not functioning. So earlier this year, we were able to relay those sewer lines on Grant Street and Maple Street. In that process, we also stubbed in water and sewer to each of the 8 lots, actually 7 of the 8 lots. 1 lot had water and sewer already that you see on that preliminary plat. We have taken this preliminary plat to the Planning Commission. They did not have any significant comments and moved it forward to City Council for their consideration. You'll note in there that our intention is to sell these lots. Our intention is also to set a listing price somewhere around $55,000 per lot for those. And as we all know who have sold houses, we'll test the market and see how that goes and make adjustments as needed. Attorney Westrick should be able to manage those transactions for us. But this is also a nice thing to kind of get to the finish line. So 6 of these 8 lots are owned by the city, and 6 of those lots hopefully will have some houses on them coming up very soon. You will note in your packet that we do have, I wouldn't say covenants, but we do have some requirements for the style of those homes that will be recorded with the lots. And we also have some requirements for whomever buys them, that those lots, much like our business park land, that those lots do get houses placed on them in a timely manner. If not, the city can repossess, or not repossess, but purchase those lots back at the purchase price. So we have some assurances, I think, that our end goal of seeing some homes in that area will be achieved. I'd be happy to answer any questions related to this one.
The one lot that's left with stuff, that'd be the one with the building that used to be Crossroads.
Correct. Yeah, the school district has 2 of those lots. One of them has that building on it that is the former Crossroads. I don't think there's any plan in place in the immediate future to do anything with those 2 lots, but we did reach out to the school district in the planning of this, and they did acknowledge, yes, let's go ahead and stub a sewer and water lateral in and break off that lot just to the south of the existing building there.
This is one that has been kind of lingering for a long time. I can recall probably during my first year on the council going to a school board meeting where Manager Hausman's predecessor and Attorney Westrick's predecessor came and talked to the school board about this property, and it was a very kind of a confusing ownership situation, and there were agreements, and it's just great, and it took a long time to get here, but I really think this area is very highly desirable for infill housing development. So I'm glad that we're finally able to push this forward.
What zoning classifications do these lots?
Thank you. They are TF10, which is 2 flat residential 10.
It matches
Yeah.
well, it matches the zoning in the area.
Okay.
Right, so it matches and then it allows for a single family dwelling or a 2 flat, which is actually a 2 unit, but an upper and lower.
Okay.
So that is, and in the deed restrictions that are included in the packet, it describes the style. And it also just indicates that the residential structures have to meet the requirements of the city's zoning ordinance and must be either single family or 2 flat. And then the architectural style as well. And staff would have review over the architectural style during the building permit process. And just to go on we did look at the neighborhood. This has been something that we've talked about for a number of years, trying to make sure that the infill development meets the character of the existing neighborhood. The acceptable styles as included in the deed restrictions are Craftsman, Cape Cod, Tudor, Arts and Crafts, Bungalow, and Prairie.
I will, let's see. I will move to approve the preliminary plat for the property located at 611 and 609 Grove Street and authorize staff to list the city-owned parcels for $55,000 each with the deed restrictions included in the staff report.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, the motion is to approve the preliminary plat for the property located at 611 and 609 Grove Street and authorize staff to list the city-owned parcels for $55,000 each with the deed restrictions included in the staff report. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Nice to bring some closure to a number of items here. Andy, thank you for all you've done to get us here on these items and many other things.
Thank you.
Item 10E, review and possible action related to the purchase and installation of replacement flooring at the wastewater utility main building. We have Superintendent Christensen with us.
Good evening, everybody. So first item I have tonight is replacement of flooring in our main building. When the building was remodeled in a project in 92, roughly, vinyl tile flooring was installed in our main level, in several rooms and offices areas, and then also in our lower level, in our break room and training room area. It's 30 plus years old now and did a pretty good job for a while, and it started to fail a few years ago. The picture in your packet shows that's my office actually. And some of the other rooms, it's, at least as bad. A lot of loose tiles, a lot of problems with, and we've done some repair over the years in replacing tiles, and it's just started to break up the way it is now with it being brittle. And so we looked at a couple different options. These floors all have concrete underneath them. So we looked at doing polished concrete as an option. All of the contractors we talked to all had concern about concrete where there was tile over the top of it. Sometimes there were like half the time it's shows lines come through. If you they grind off all the adhesive that was on there, underneath. And then when they start to polish the floor, all of a sudden you can start to see these lines like a checkerboard, just in the 1 foot squares. They said sometimes you don't, sometimes you do. So the other option we looked at was doing an epoxy flooring, much like sometimes you see kind of wet areas and things like that done with an epoxy and a flake. But there are also many other options that include flooring that looks like natural cork and marble, and it's pretty amazing the wide range of things. It's not just the thing you see in people's garages. They use this epoxy flake for office areas regularly, and ends up looking very nice. Gives you a very wide range, everything from looking just like the tile we're replacing to, as I said, like more like a nicer cork type of finish type flooring. So we opted to go with that. We got contractors that came in, gave us pricing for that type of flooring option. We had contacted 3, and we had 3 come out. One did not return a price. So we have 35,000 budgeted for this, and the 3 option, or the three, we should say 2 prices we got back of the 3. One was Floor Care USA, that included the demolition and its installation of the new epoxy decorative flake and a top coat for $38,091. The other one was from HGS Protective Coatings, and they came in at $45,000 for the same material. And then again, another contractor did not return a price. So the low price was $38,091 from Floor Care USA. We obviously that is over our budgeted $35,000. We are under in several other CIP items that we had this year, and we more than enough to absorb the $3,091 over for that. So we do recommend the proposal from Floor Care USA for the $38,091. They have done work in the area. They actually have, I think when we were talking to them earlier, they were working on, or had just worked on some things with the school district. So they've done work in the area, and it's been satisfactory work. So we're confident in that. Any questions on the flooring?
Any questions? And if not, is there a motion?
to approve the proposal from Floor Care USA for the purchase and installation of replacement flooring at the wastewater utility building at a cost not to exceed $38,091.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the proposal. Any further discussion? Hearing none, the motion is to approve the proposal from Floor Care USA for the purchase and installation of replacement flooring at the wastewater utility main building at a cost not to exceed $38,091. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Item 10F, review and possible action relating to the contract for the repair of the Memorial Park lift station.
Okay, so the second item, our Memorial Park lift station is the one that is near Memorial Park where the Little League baseball diamonds are. It's right across the road from there. As the building that's there, and then also underneath the ground is a large wet well area. So that was installed in about 1982, along with the north side interceptor. Then it pumps from there uphill and then gravity to the plant. That is a 4-pump lift station. They were large pumps, can pump, for the future, it'll pump anything we could ever have come through that way. The well is a split well, so we can operate it with 2 pumps on one side and 2 pumps on the other. We operate, generally speaking, that way where we just run one side every 6 months. We change to the other side to keep the pumps all exercised and working evenly. So we had a small upgrade in 1994 where it was really just mainly some grading replacements, sandblasting of piping and just repainting things. So that doesn't seem like that long ago, but that was 30 years ago. So we knew it was getting time. We actually have money budgeted in a few years to evaluate the lift station for other improvements that it might need after time. But we didn't make it there. In the last maintenance, when we were changing over in the fall here from one side to the other, we found that one of the 10-inch check balls cracked. I've never seen that before. They're quite heavy. They are in the neighborhood of 400-pound check valves with a big ball about this big inside of it that moves out of the way when the pumps go on to let the flow go by. So we investigated the rest of them. We had another contractor come and take a look with us to look at the other 3 sets of piping. They had thought they had found a crack on one of the other ones. We looked at it closer, and it was they're painted, and the paint is starting to peel on these. There's each pump has a check ball valve, a 10-inch check ball valve, and then a 10-inch plug valve to isolate that pump. We looked closer, and it was really just a line, kind of a cracked paint in the line. So the other valves are all okay, but in very rough condition, along with the piping. The contractor's concern was that we don't know what caused, if it was just wear or what caused that 10-inch check ball to crack. There's nothing to say it couldn't happen to the other ones. It could go 10 years and not be a problem, or another one could crack tomorrow. It's because we just don't know. It could have been defective manufacturing. They were all installed at the same time. So it was a recommendation of the contractor that we replace all the piping and all the valves for each of those pumps. So each pump has two valves, a ball check and a plug valve. So there'd be 4 sets of valves and then piping to go along with that. We'll be replacing the piping with fabricated stainless steel piping, so it won't need to be painted. The other valves will come with factory epoxy coating, and we won't paint over that. We'll leave that the way it is. So we have the Zurich valves are the plug valves. We use the Zurich valves throughout the plant. We don't have any other type of plug valve other than the Zurich. Their representative is the Dorner company from I think they're still in the Milwaukee area. And so they gave us a price of $10,248 for 4 plug valves, 10-inch plug valves. The check valves, the check ball valves there's many manufacturers that make the type that we have. So we were able to get pricing from different companies for that. Dorner gave us a price for the 4 check ball valves of $23,708. Core and Main gave us a price of $33,048, and Pump Solutions Incorporated gave us a price of $33,200. Then also we contacted 3 mechanical contractors. We have we have 2 prices back. One did not able to return a quote. They're very busy and just haven't been able to make it down. But we need to move ahead with this being a semi-emergency type of thing. So Staub Construction gave us a price for installing all the valves, replacing all the piping with stainless piping, other minor adjustments with valve stems and things like that, all inclusive of $66,000 for the labor and materials to do that work. And then Sabo Mechanical gave us a price of $119,250. And then again, JF Ahern was not able to return a price to us. A little bit of difference between those 2 prices. They both obviously have done work for us. Staub has been working, had worked on our big project here. Sabo Mechanical is going to be doing work for doing our, we awarded previously contract to them for rebuilding our Pista grit system. So confident in both of them, but they were just a little less sure of the work with the stainless steel pipe fabrication. I think that's why Staub does this all the time, and they were able to give us a better price. So we recommend the purchase of the wall check valves and the 10-inch plug valves from Dorner Company for the total price of $33,956. And then the labor and materials for the piping and installation of the valves from Staub Construction for $66,000, for a total of $99,956. Now, these were not obviously budgeted for. We did not plan for this. Funds will come from our equipment replacement fund.
Any questions?
How soon will they be getting in to do the work then?
The valves are 6 to 8 weeks to deliver, so we'll get those on order tomorrow.
Okay.
And then we'll set up with Staub so that they'll be able to do it when we get notice of when these are being shipped. We'll be setting a date before that tentatively, and then we'll lock that date in.
Great. I'll move to approve the proposal from Dorner for the plug valves and ball check valves for $33,956, and the removal and installation proposal by Staub Construction for $66,000, for a total of $99,956 for repairs to the Memorial Park lift station using equipment replacement funds.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the repairs. Any further discussion? Hearing none, the motion is to approve the proposal from Dorner for the plug valves and ball check valves for $33,956, and the removal and installation proposal by Staub Construction for $66,000, for a total of $99,956 for repairs to the Memorial Park lift station using equipment replacement funds. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Paul, if you're not on our agendas in December, thank you as well for your time in
Yep, you're
39
welcome. It's
years.
been fun.
Much appreciated.
Thanks.
Item 10G, review and approve the small animal collection contract with the Humane Society of Jefferson County for 2025. Finance Director Herbert.
Thank you. This is an annual contract. We approved the Humane Society. They maintain our collection of small animals within the city. They continue to provide pickup and drop off for stray animals to residents and assist the law enforcement during regular business hours. They do offer weekend hours to allow for adoption for many of the pets that are seeking homes. Every year, the Humane Society does provide a contract to us that is charged broken down by our population, which is derived from Department of Administration. So they provided a quote this year with a rate of $2.74 per resident, totaling over $34,000. That does reflect about a 2.5% increase. They do offer us an annual discount if we pay the full annual rate in January, which we have happily taken advantage of for many years, as it does provide a savings of just over $500. I did provide a table in the memo that shows the savings that we've experienced over the prior years. I'm happy to answer any question. This is a budgeted item. We do, when we complete the budget, we don't always know what the exact amount is going to be. So we did give a little bit of wiggle room as we budgeted $34,000 for next year. Happy to answer any questions. If not, we'd be looking for authorization for the city manager to sign the contract.
Yeah, I know we've had some resident input about this line item in the past, but if I recall from last year's meeting, if we don't contract out this type of service, the city would have to provide it in some or other ways or means. And this is a cheaper route than the city opening up a animal shelter. So this is the most efficient way to spend our money by meeting this obligation.
We do have a very good relationship with the Humane Society also. Monthly, they do provide reports on any strays that are picked up or surrendered, and then also any adoptions. And they assist with licensing those animals that are adopted or collected that are city residents, the owners and the pets, city residents, to make sure that they do get licensed properly with us.
If I understand their chart that they provided with, they serviced about 202 animals on this year.
Mhm.
So if you figure that out, it comes out to about $167 per animal that they service, which is fairly reasonable.
Great.
Yes, it would be much more expensive if we did it ourselves.
Significantly more. Okay, any other questions or is there a motion?
I move to approve the small animal collection contract with the Humane Society of Jefferson County for 2025 at a cost not to exceed $33,644.45 using funds budgeted for that purpose.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the contract. Any further discussion? Hearing none, the motion is to approve the small animal collection contract with the Humane Society of Jefferson County for 2025 at a cost not to exceed $33,644.45 using funds budgeted for that purpose. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Item 10H, review and possible action relating to a disallowance of the claim against the city of Fort Atkinson. This is a Goldsmith claim, Finance Director Everett.
Thank you. As we all have insurance companies, the League of Wisconsin Municipality Mutual Insurance does represent the city. They represent us for liability, property, workers' comp, vehicle insurance, cybersecurity. Anytime any claims were to be filed to me, they immediately go to our League of Wisconsin Insurance Company. And then from there, they work with the different vendors that we participate with. This was reviewed by Statewide Insurance, which handles all the vehicle claims. They do their due diligence and do their investigation and then follow up with us. And in this situation, they're asking for the council to disallow this claim as the vehicle damage it was reported that the city was not liable for the vehicle damage for Mr. Goldsmith's vehicle. I'm happy to answer any questions. Following a council approval to disallow the claim, certified letter is sent to the claimant, letting them know that the council was disallowed this. Should they decide to return and seek further action, they do have a timeline that they would have to follow, and that's established by state statute. So this is appropriate procedures, again, established by state statute for local government when it comes to liability.
Any questions?
Well, as we routinely do with these, I will move to disallow the claim brought against the city of Fort Atkinson from the claimant pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 893.801G.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to disallow the claim. Any further discussion? Hearing none, motion is to disallow the claim brought against the city of Fort Atkinson from the claimant pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 893.801G. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion is approved. Item 10I, review and possible action to authorize the city manager to issue a request for proposals for recruitment services for a director of public works. Manager Hausman.
Thank you. As we referenced earlier, our Director of Public Works has submitted his letter of resignation. Staff does not have the capacity or number of staff to handle a recruitment of this nature on our own. So I am requesting that the council authorize me to issue the request for proposals that's included in your packet to get a recruiter to assist in this, in filling this role. We also hope to be able to picked the recruiter's brain a bit with the city engineer position, as well as that has remained vacant for a number of months under its current role and a number of years under its previous title as the assistant engineer, city engineer. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. This does not, just simply releasing the proposal, the request for proposals does not have any sort of financial obligation. If the proposals come back and they're all, way out of the range that we're willing to pay, then we can certainly look at other options. But I do want to get authorization from the council to do this. If we remember, we hired a firm to assist with the fire chief recruitment in 2023, and that was wildly successful. And that cost was $26,000. Those costs range from $15,500 to $27,000. So I think that was a 2023 number. We'd probably be looking at something that is more than that now. However, as I mentioned in the staff report, we have had vacancies in that position for a while. So I believe we can find the funds to get assistance with this recruitment. So staff does recommend that the council authorize the city manager to release the request for proposals for the Director of Public Works Recruitment Services.
I think this is a really critical step. Obviously, we're sorry to see Andy moving on, understanding it's for another great opportunity. And I think we're all aware these types of roles right now are very challenging to fill, not just in our area, but throughout our state. So no, I think this makes a lot of sense.
And definitely, as valuable as Andy is, we can't leave this seat unfilled for a long period of time for as much as this position does for the city itself. Definitely think we need to move along with this to help hurry up and hopefully find a very qualified candidate.
I move to authorize the city manager to issue a request for proposals for recruitment services for the position of Director of Public Works.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to authorize the request. Any further discussion? Hearing none, motion is to authorize the city manager to issue a request for proposals for recruitment services for the position of Director of Public Works. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Claims, appropriations, and contract payments, item 11A, review and possible action relating to the verified claims presented by the Director of Finance and authorization of payment.
I would move to approve the list of verified claims as presented by the Director of Finance.
Second.
Motion a second to approve the verified claims. Any discussion? Hearing none, motion is to approve the verified claims as presented. This is a roll call vote.
Councilman Becker,
Aye.
Councilman Jekyll,
Aye.
Councilman Johnson,
Aye.
Councilman Schultz.
Aye.
President Lesko here.
Aye, motion is approved unanimously. Item 12, adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion a second to adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.